Hey fellas, your commissioner here, coming at you for a little week two of NFL action. As you can see, a little sweaty. I don't know if you can see the perspiration. Never know. See, this is like backwards. Yeah, there's a little. See, it's backwards. Like the camera's backwards. Like I'm turning my head left, but it's going right on the camera. You know what I mean? Little underdressed is what you would normally see. Had to get home, had to mow. Long overdue. Been putting it off. So had to knock that out real quick. Got off work at about 5. Got home about 5:30. Of course, had to get gas. Of course, gas goes up 20 cents on the day that I need to get it. That'll teach me to procrastinate. But, hey, I'm in my best white shirt here, right here. Just because, hey, that's fantasy, right? Sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the time to get success. Just like the Sam Pittman-led Hogs getting a great victory on Saturday, 44-30, I believe. We got a safety. Open up SEC play 1-0 at home. Good time. Good game. Never really in doubt. I knew that they were going to get a long bomb on us. They did. I'd like to see our second half defense maybe tighten up just a little bit. It seems like we do great in the first half, and our offenses kind of figure us out in the second half. I'd like to see a little bit better adjustments, but hey, we're on the right path, and I think we got a great future ahead of us. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into a recap of last week's games, the first recap of the season. Start off here with our Welch's Fruit Snack game of the week. A rematch of our last year's championship game. Sorry about that. Brain froze for a second. Buffering. Hopefully YouTube is just buffering right then. Rip manages to pull away from stave off Connor's Monday night comeback 118-106. Never really got close. I say Connor's Monday night comeback, but Penny had a fairly underwhelming game, only 7.7 points from him. Not a great week from Rip. I mean, an average week, 118. It's might win you, it might lose you a week. Just depends on who you're playing. But he did put up 118, getting a goose egg out of his flex from Devontae Smith. Really, he was carried on Thursday night by Cooper Kupp's monster game, 33 points. He kind of rode that to an easy victory. Hold on just one moment. If I stop this, I think it's going to stop the whole video. I think it will. So hold on, you're just going to see me grab some Kleenexes. It's allergy season, so allergy season and mowing, not a good combo. Actually, I could have muted myself for that, so it's all right. You get raw, unfiltered, uncut commish this week. No video editing will occur on this video. I told you I'd do it if I had time. This week I don't have time. It is what it is. So and a really good game from Hurts as well. Only had. What has he had? He only had one touchdown, but he had 90 yards on the ground. And I mean, that's just, that's the benefit of having a dual threat quarterback like Jalen Hurts is, 243, no passing touchdowns, but 90 yards on the ground and a rush touchdown. I mean, that's why he's QB1. That's why he's QB1. So, good game from Waller and Connor, I think, will bounce back. He had a good game from Lamar. Kamara got off to a slow start. Penny slow start. Robinson did nothing. Eli was just okay. Jamar Chase was Jamar Chase, of course. Monster game from him. And Andrews and Bateman were good too. So, I think that's kind of Plunk's team. I think it's just going to be a solid team. I think it's going to be a fringe playoff team. I don't think that he'll be a lock to make the playoffs. anywhere close till towards the very end of the regular season. But I do love seeing him start 0-1. Good job, Rip. Get your revenge. Start off the season 1-0. Next here, we got the highest scoring team of the week. That would be yours truly, the Commissioner. The power of positive thinking, folks. Optimistic Laz, optimistic Commish. He's here. He's not going anywhere. He's causing good things for the Hogs. He's causing good things for his fantasy team. And, I had a lot of self-reflection this offseason, right? I had a lot of self-reflection. I looked in the mirror. I said, hey, man, I know you think that you know this fantasy shit, but it's not producing results on the field. So here's what you need to do. You need to get back in the lab. You need to get back on the grind. You need to put in the time, put in the effort, roll your sleeves up, white collar, blue collar. Is it blue collars, the tough guys, even though it's a white shirt? I don't know. I digress. And you're not good enough to do this on your own. Okay? Nobody is. Nobody is, unless you're the luckiest guy to ever walk the face of the earth. And I'm starting to see the fruits of my labors right here. 146, absolutely phenomenal week. Good game from Russ, 22 points with only getting one touchdown. I mean, that's a great floor. I tell you, anytime you can get 20 points from a quarterback in this league, it's going to give you a shot to win, unless your team's just dog shit. Great game from DeAndre Swift. McCaffrey only had 33 yards, still put up almost 16 points. I mean, that's this guy's floor. His worst game is 16 points. It's better than most guys will ever see their whole career. Solid game from Sutton. Great start to Thursday night, to week 1 with Gabe Davis catching a tutty. 2 touchdowns from Michael Thomas. A touchdown from James Conner. Christian Kirk went off on the bench. Cordero Patterson went off on the bench. Khalil had a nice game on the bench. And not to be overshadowed, but Duncan really did have a very good performance. I mean, 127 will get you a win 8 or 9 times out of 10 in this league. And he was I believe the 4th highest scoring team this week. I thought I had it in the bag after Gabe Davis had a great start, and Swift was going early. But Justin Jefferson, that late game, 40 points out of Justin Jefferson. I mean, just an absolute freak. Green Bay just didn't cover him. They just flat out refused to cover him. And if Rodgers does anything, this is a lot more close of a game than I thought it would have been going in. I definitely discredited Duncan's team. Now, is Kareem Hunt going to score 2 touchdowns every week? No. Is Aaron Rodgers going to have 5 points every week? Probably not either. So, he had solid guys on his bench, a couple of solid guys on his bench. Let me not get carried away. Still very thin depth-wise there. But I do think Duncan is going to be competing for a playoff spot. I think he got off to a good start despite the record being 0-1 and me being 1-0. So, next here we got Razorback Revival. Cooter Gain, my stone cold lock of the week. Shame on me. I ran out of time on Sunday morning to be able to put in the bet for this game. And I could have made myself an easy at least 10 fab. I mean, I only do max bets. Please bet. Especially D-Shade, you need the money. So it's a little dicey because you kind of spent a lot. We'll get into that in a minute. But a good way to recoup some of those losses is in the gambling world. I mean, the first year we did this, I went 6-0, 6 max bets, $60 extra. That's almost half of our budget to start the season. I earned back through my gambling prowess. I wish I could do it in real life. I'd be a millionaire. You think I'd still be working at all? Do you think I'd still be, living in this house? No. I'd still be driving the Telluride because it's a nice ride and it's great value. But I thought that ESPN was unfairly shitting on Nick's team. And, hey, Loki, get down. Get down. Get down. Psst, 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 psst. I don't actually have a spray gun, but he doesn't know that. He puts up 135, only getting 10 points from his quarterback. Only 9 points from his tight end, but A.J. Dillon looked like a monster. 1 touchdown, but he got 20 points. Just dump off. Pittman, what a beast. Waddle's always a threat to break for a tutty. A.J. Brown absolutely set the world on fire. great wide receiver, top 10, top 5 probably wide receiver in the league behind those quartet of top guys. And, Chase Edmonds, solid game with 10 points with no tutties. And Dalvin Cook got 14 points with no tutties. So, Nick's team is looking really good. JD, a little bit underwhelming. The tight end is really, with Kittle being out, it's tough. I mean, you spend that capital it takes to get Kittle. You're passing up on a guy who could be your wide receiver 3, your running back 2. And, if he doesn't play, this is the result. Or he doesn't perform, this is the result. You got to start guys like Irv Smith, who gets a goose egg. I think his flex is very suspect. He did do something to address that, and I think it's worth the money that he spent, which, again, we'll get into. I'm getting ahead of myself. But, his wide receiver trio is okay. They're just okay. Deontay is going to pop some games, and Hollywood's going to pop some games, but not consistent production. But Jonathan Taylor, beast, top 2, top 1 running back in the league. And Joe Burrow, despite having like 5 turnovers, still managed to salvage 20 points. So, I think JD will be okay going forward. He'll be a fringe playoff team. Wouldn't surprise me if he missed it or made it. But I think Nick is legit. If Trey Lance can do anything, it'll be very telling to see how Trey Lance performs outside of a monsoon. Because if he can get any sort of production from him, this team's fairly deep, and I think it's a potential championship contender as is. So, all right, next we got the Cataclysmic Catches and EDP 445. Savoy. This is the horse ass battle rematch, and it turned out exactly like it did during the last season, with Wilson eking out a win against Savoy 118 to 110. Just Wilson's numbers are a little skewed. I mean, he got 42 points from Patty Mahomes. He's certainly not going to do that every week. But good production from Mike Evans. 15 points out of Brandon Cooks. You'll take that day in, day out. Good game from Schultz. Didn't get anything from Woods and Mike Williams. I'd be a little bit concerned there. I'm a little bit concerned with Wilson's depth. But, Chubb had 15 points, didn't get a tutty. Of course, he doesn't catch passes. This is a typical Chubb game, 141. You'd like to see him get a little bit more of the red zone touches, but that seems to be all Kareem Hunt. And I think better days are ahead for David Montgomery as well. I mean, he got a good workload and just didn't get the end zone work. So, but yeah, I think Wilson's going to be okay. I think he's on his way for maybe making the playoffs for the first time and since he's been in the league. So, and Savoy, what's there to say about Savoy's team, really? He needs Dobbins to come back, that's for sure. Am I muted now? No. Am I muted? I don't know. You tell me. It doesn't seem like I am. Okay, we're back. I hope. Hopefully I don't do the rest of this video on mute. I see the little sound thing moving, so I think we're good. Anyways, what's there really to say about Savoy's team? Good game from Herbert, 30 points, great game. James Robinson scored a couple tutties. Keenan did get hurt. Really got nothing from Thielen. So-so from Olave. Mediocre game from Eckler. Jamal Williams is not going to score 2 touchdowns every week. And you look at his bench, he's got nobody on his bench to really put in. So, I mean, this really is his lineup for the foreseeable future outside of Dobbins going in there for probably Jamal once Dobbins is healthy, which he practiced in full today. So, whatever. I mean, I don't see Savoy making the playoffs this year, and I think there's many more losses in his future ahead. So, All right, second to last game here. How we doing? 15 minutes. Okay. We got the Swamp Donkeys versus Shade Dynasty. The first game for Mr. Dylan Shade, and boy, did he come in hot. Right, kind of the polar opposite of Forrest's re-entry into the league last year when he put up like 140, 50, I don't even know, an absurd amount of points week one, and then proceeded to go to shit. Almost our dog shit of the weeks, bailed out by the team we will be getting to just shortly. Okay week from Blaine, 110, not a lot to write home about. He got goose egg from Akers on Thursday night, but really he was carried by Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley and Amon-Ra. Outside of those three players, the rest of his lineup barely combined to score more than 20 points. And three players just I don't think is enough to win it in this league. Saquon I don't think is going to have 30 points every week, but it is looking like one of the biggest steals of the draft so far, that's for sure, after 1 week. And you look at his bench, and there's just not a lot there either. So I'm a little scared by Blaine's team. I mean, certainly Josh Allen is great. And Kyle Pitts will bounce back for sure. I mean, he's not going to score 3.9 points every week, but he will a lot of weeks. So it's nothing from Tony. You hope that gets better as well. Ayuk, again, if I was Blaine, I'd maybe be looking to move Hopkins already because he needs pieces to win now. Maybe try to move Hopkins for a couple solid guys and, see if he can cobble a little bit better of a roster together because I'd be worried about his team to crack 100 points most weeks outside of Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley carrying the load. So, and then Shade, Dak gets hurt early. DK really never got going. Cooper's a bomb, as I said. Really carried by Travis Kelce and Leonard Fournette. Mooney did nothing. I think brighter days are ahead for Mooney as well. But Kelce's going to help balance the ship, but I don't know what he does at quarterback. I don't think he picked one up. I need to double check the waivers here in a minute. Trevor Lawrence, I'd be a little bit scared about him being my QB1 to try to win games in this league, but I don't think that there are much brighter days ahead either. I think both of these teams are make the playoffs if everything goes right type of teams, in my opinion. As much as it pays me to say, I really hope Blaine, and I trust Blaine to be able to turn it around and figure it out. He is 1-0. That's a good start. So that's a good start. All right, that brings us to our last matchup of the week. Loki, get out of there. He's just sitting there, just hitting the litters thing. Ooh, it snakes. Cats. They suck. Great week from Ford before I get into the bad. Great week from Ford. 144 points almost. Second highest point total in the league this week. And that's with a goose egg from one of his players. He got a goose egg from Cole Kmet. But, an 8.1 from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. But outside of that, 30 points from Devontae Adams, 26 points from Diggs, 14 points from McLaurin. 2 catches, don't love that. The tutties aren't always going to be there. You'd like to see a little bit more production. Clyde's probably not as much shit as I talked against Clyde. The redemption team is here at full force, whether he's on the team or not. He's not going to score 2 tutties every week, but good game from him. And Javonte, despite not scoring a touchdown, despite fumbling, still almost had 20 points because it was check down city. So great game from him. Kyler was able to get 23 points in garbage time. Not a lot of depth there. Not a lot of guys on Ford's bench that he would probably put in or want to put in. But his roster as is fine. I think he's asserting himself as maybe trying to get back in that championship contention. It's been a long time, many years since he's been. There was a time, believe it or not, that Ford was he was making the championship game or he wasn't making the playoffs. He was like the Giants every other year. He's never winning. But, good for Ford. I think Ford's off to a good start. Got a good team to build around those 2 wide receivers, Diggs and Adams. are absolute monsters. Javonte is the next young stud running back in the league. So, and then that brings us to our dog shit: puke all over themselves, throw up all over themselves. Hipster team of the week. That is the doesn't contribute. 66.5 points. He was sitting on 58, I think, going into Monday night with only his tight end. Outside of Antonio Gibson getting about 50 catches and getting 20 points, let's say Brian Robinson doesn't get shot. Craig probably maybe cracks 50, maybe. Terrible game from Brady, despite being in full control of that game. Ezekiel Elliott, terrible. Eli Mitchell got hurt. CeeDee Lamb, bum. T. Higgins, concussion protocol. Hunter Renfrow is an accountant, not a football player. And, his best non-quarterback position player was Albert O. 8.3 points, Albert O. And you look at his bench, and there wasn't many guys he could put in that'd be much better. I mean, Jahan was very good. 19 points from him. 2 tutties. Not going to happen every week. You take those away, and now he's down to about a 7-point game, which is okay. That letter stinks, boy. Jacoby, solid game from him. 10 points with one of the best shadow corners in the league. 66 points isn't great. I think that this is definitely Craig's floor. But, maybe I was wrong to put him in the playoffs. I was wrong last year on Craig's team by saying he wasn't going to make the playoffs, and then he rattled off like 6 wins in a row or something like that. But this isn't good, Craig. This isn't good. I think you know that. And you got good players. You got good names. That's the thing. They just don't produce. And they're not producing. And I wonder, maybe you got a lot of guys that are maybe frauds. Maybe they're frauds. Maybe CD's a fraud. Maybe Zeke's a fraud. Maybe Tom Brady's now a fraud. Maybe Hunter Renfrow's a fraud. And how appropriate would that be? The fraud contributors or something like that. So, Team Fraud. Frauding Craig's fantasy hopes. Something like that. That would be a catchy team name for old Craig. Hipster Craig. The Hipster Frauds. Fraudulent Hipsters. Something like that. You know what I mean? I'm just spitballing here, So, anyways, starting to run a little long here. Let me go ahead and pick things up. You got it off easy. It's week 1. Power positive thinking. It's tough for me to really drill into you guys. I don't know why. Maybe I'll get there eventually, but I'm riding too high right now. You know what I mean? Of course, very active waiver wire. The most active waiver wire week of any of the regular season weeks. We had a lot of wide receivers. That was kind of the big acquisition. Of course, Curtis Samuel, $51 to JD, blew almost half his budget on Curtis Samuel. But hey, you look at his roster, he needed a at least flex-worthy wide receiver. Curtis Samuel is that, as long as he stays healthy. I think Curtis Samuel stays healthy. He'll be a great flex wide receiver 3 for JD's team. He'll provide him a little bit of stability. Probably a little much. I don't. Here, let me just look. Come on. Where's the offer? I really wish that they would show unsuccessful bids on ESPN's app, but yeah, Blaine dropped a $45 bid for Curtis Samuel. I had a $25 bid, $16 bid from Rip, $9 bid from Plunk. Almost half of the league was in on him. Boy, Nick had a lot of contingencies, and he did not want to break out the checkbook. That's very appropriate for Nick. He's a little tight pocket. Bid $3 for Jeff Wilson, knowing that wasn't have a shot in hell of being able to to acquire him for that low of a bid. His highest bid was $4, Rex Burkhead. So, I mean, these guys that you pick up in week 1 have the potential to benefit your team the most of any waiver wire acquisition that you could pick up all year, because you could have them and benefit your team for 16 more weeks. So 15 more weeks, whatever it is. So another big pickups were Jeff Wilson, $41. Next closest bid, $29, $27, $23. Good half of the league was in on him. Let's see, who else? Robbie Anderson, Shade, $31. Good. Got to get your guy, right? He caught a touchdown. He must be good. Who else? Craig put in a $19 bid on Zay Jones. Don't hate that. Nick was able to scoop him up for the low of $3. The only other bid for Zay Jones, other than Plunk, who was in for $4, but had already maxed out his roster. I think Carson Wentz is fine. For Shade, you're gonna love that. $6. Kirk Cousins for Duncan, $5. I think one of the best pickups of the week, $5 for Ford, Kyle Phillips. Might be a little PPR monster, little next Julian Edelman. Burkhead went for $7 to Plunk. Kenyon Drake, $12. Only bid, I think, for Kenyon Drake that I saw. Craig had an $18 bid on Sterling Shepard. Good for you, Craig. Good for you. Hey, you know what? I'm glad I didn't totally shit on your team, because good for you for trying to go after Sterling Shepard. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of heart. That's what it takes to win in fantasy, all right? All right, and then who did I get? I got somebody. I got Donovan Peoples-Jones. Only bid on him, so way overspent. $14 on him, but whatever. It's not like I don't have money to blow. I'm a beast at 158 fab. I had the most fab in the league, too, so before this week. But anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and get into a recap or preview. Doesn't take long for that to mess up. Preview of this week's games. We'll start off here. It seems like a lot of teams are playing games. Maybe not. Maybe some people straighten their shit out, knowing that the State of the Union is coming up. I appreciate that. I appreciate being able to give an accurate breakdown of y'all's games and not just having to play the guessing game. Cataclysmic Catches versus Swamp Donkeys. Wilson's projected to win 122 to 109. I think this actually is Blaine's real lineup. That's a pretty sad sight. I just got to see more from Blaine. I think it's going to be a close one. I wouldn't be opposed to betting Blaine to cover, but I don't think that Blaine wins this one. I think Wilson gets off to a 2-0 start, but I do think that Blaine can cover that 13.5 point spread fairly easily. So next we got a couple of rivals, a couple of former champions. Razorback Revival discount double check. Rip's projected to win 127 to 119. Again, I think way too low for Nick's team. I think he might cover again. I'm not going to make it my lock, Stone Cold lock. That'll be Blaine's game, actually. Starting Henderson. Atlanta kind of bottled up Kamara, though. So, I'm going to go with Rip in this one. I'm going to go with Rip. We don't like picking Nick on this show, so we'll go with Rip. Next, we got EDP 445 versus Shades Dynasty. Shades projected to win 120 to 106. 120 to 102. I'm sorry, 102. Read that wrong. Yikes. This is an ugly game. I think these are two bottom-tier teams. I do think Mooney will bounce back, have a nice game against Green Bay. The Saints just got gashed by Cordero Patterson, so Fournette should be able to do the same. So, I'm gonna go with Shade in this one. Have him get his first win of the season. Put Savoy at 0-2. Next we got Kickers Lives Matter versus Doesn't Contribute. And Craig does not have a third wide receiver in there at the moment. So Duncan's projected to win 121-97. Looking at his bench, probably be more like 110 for Craig once he gets a legit lineup. But yeah, I mean, until Craig can show me something, you can't pick him. You can't pick him. So I'm gonna go with Duncan in that one. Next, we got Cooter Gain versus Dirty Birds of War. JD is projected to win 124-118. A little bit high. I think Dallas has a decent secondary. Najee's a little bit banged up. We'll see how he does. Either way, it's a tough matchup against New England. But Jonathan Taylor playing Jacksonville should absolutely feast. But I'm just not thrilled with his other matchups for his receivers. He really needs Kittle to be back from the groin, I think, to have a prayer in this game. If I could confidently say that all of JD's players will play, which isn't a guarantee, I would also probably hammer Plunk plus 5.9 because I do think that Plunk gets back on his winning ways and gets back to 500. I do think Plunk wins that one. All right, so that brings us to our game of the week. I already know. Got it queued up. I've been waiting to hydrate. I haven't been hydrating this whole 30 minutes because I didn't want to waste the sponsor. Our Powerade Zero game of the week. Powerade Zero sugar sports drink. Grape flavor. I know a lot of people probably don't like grape. Screw them. 0 calories per bottle. It's actually way healthier than Gatorade Zero, which if you get a Gatorade Zero in this size, it actually does have some calories. I guess they just don't have the science figured out at Gatorade like they do at Powerade. I don't remember which one's Pepsi, which one's Coke. And it doesn't say on here, surprisingly. But anyway, Powerade Zero, it's got Ion 4, advanced electrolyte system, helps replenish 4 electrolytes lost in sweat. And as I pointed out at the beginning of the show, I was sweating. It's got vitamins B3, B6, B12, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. Stuff that on their own could probably kill you. But yeah, you put it is Coke. It is Coca-Cola. So, yeah, I do love a good Gatorade, but Powerade Zero is my go-to drink. It is the official zero sugar sports drink of the Bring That Wood Fantasy Football League. So Powerade Zero. Cheers. Refreshing. All right. So, that is the Curse of the 101. Let's ride and the Fat Bastards. Game of the week, the 2 top scoring teams from last week facing off in week 2. Couldn't have scripted it any better myself. I love the challenge. I've been getting very fortuitous the last few years with teams not scoring many points against me. And I'm up for the challenge. I mean, I have full confidence in my team to beat anybody. I feel like we're going to be the highest scoring team in the league. And, I think that we can beat anybody in this league on any given Sunday. I know it for a fact. So, let's see. So, battle of the quarterback. We have Russell Wilson versus Kyler Murray. Should be a good one. Matty Ice had an okay game against Houston. Houston's better than they look, but it is the home opener for the Broncos versus Kyler Murray on the road in Vegas. Vegas just got torched by Herbert, so I think this one's pretty close. I'm probably gonna have to push this matchup. I think both of these guys have 20-point performances, really good weeks from them. Battle of the running backs right now. It's Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift versus Javonte Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Swift did miss practice today with a little bit of an ankle. I'm not sure what's going on with that. He played the full game. First I'm really hearing of it. I don't know. regardless, we'll be fine either way. We have James Conner, and we have people who can move up to the flex if need be. Even if regardless, I'm going with my running backs in this one. I think McCaffrey is going to feast against the Giants, and either Swift or Connor is going to dominate if they're out there. And I think Clyde maybe comes back down to reality just a touch. But I do think Javonte has a great game, and maybe the highest scoring out of the 4 running backs in play here. But I'm going to go with my running backs in that one. Battle of the wide receiver. You got Courtland Sutton, Gabe Davis, and Michael Thomas versus Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and Terry McLaurin. And yet again, 2 weeks in a row, I've got going against a wide receiver on the same team as a receiver on my team on Monday night. So, of course, obviously Diggs has the higher ceiling, higher potential than Gabe Davis. Ford has one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league. I mean, Terry should eat against Detroit's terrible secondary. Diggs should eat against a terrible Titans secondary. Mediocre. And then, Devontae should eat against a terrible Cardinals secondary. So, I mean, just plus matchups for elite guys. I'm going to have to go with Ford in that one. Battle of the tight end. You got Cole Kmet looking for a bounce back versus Pat Freiermuth. Green Bay did just hold Irv Smith to 0 points, and Cole's coming off a 0-point outing. I'm sure he won't get goose-egged again, but I'm going to go with Freiermuth in that one. And then battle of the flex right now, James Conner versus Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So Ford's got 2 guys going on Thursday night. Ought to be a good one. Let's say that Swift can't go. I put Kirk and Patterson in there, and I'd like either one of those guys over MBS. So really this game's going to come down to can Ford's wide receivers win him this game? If they can't, Ford's going to lose. If they can, then he might win. He'll have a very good shot. But if I can get just enough to hang tight with his wide receivers, I think at the other positions I'll be able to make up enough ground and ultimately come out the victor and start the season 2-0. So that's all I got this week, fellas. As you guys know, I'm coming up to Northwest Arkansas this weekend. Probably come up maybe Friday night. Plan on going to the Missouri State game, Arkansas-Missouri State, on Saturday night. Maybe do a little bit of tailgating before. Take Karen to her first tailgate. Take Karen to her first Razorback game. It's her birthday on Friday. So if you do have her number, please wish her a happy birthday. And still plans are TBD for watching football on Sunday. We'll see once we get up there. So, but I will be up there Sunday, more likely than not, for the whole day Sunday. Go back Monday, but we'll see how things are going on Sunday. I might come back late Sunday. So, anyways, that's all I got this week, fellas. Hogs are going to win big. Old Bobby P is going to be going back home in a neck brace and a road rash. So, anyways, good luck. Everybody stay safe, be safe, and as always, whoop big.